Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wonders. And today we are in the inland city of Burbank, Costco Burbank that is, where they have a pretty good selection of whiskeys as well as one of my newest favorite recent discovered whiskeys, the Offerman 2022 Lagavulin 11 Charred Oak Cask. So I was real excited to see this one there. And additionally, they had some pretty interesting whiskeys from some other relatively new whiskey makers like Jefferson Reserve, as well as Yellowstone, which is part of the Beam family, just in case you were wondering. So I'll do a recap of the bottles that caught my eye in this wander. I'll talk specifics about the prices on them and specifics about the bottles. And then I'll do a full uncut wander at the very end of the video for those of you who just like to watch. Now, before we get to the wander, if you like the hauls, if you like the wanders, if you like the reviews, and all the other great stuff we got cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get notified when our newest videos come out on Sundays and sometimes in between. All right, now, let's get down to it. Now, while we're getting warmed up for the wander, let's take a little bit of time just to do a whiskey check. And today I'm drinking one of my newest acquisitions, which is this Little Book 2022 Chapter 6 To The Finish, which I know it looks a lot like Booker's, but it's not, although it is from the Beam family. And it has kind of a wild and woolly mixture of finished bourbons in it. And in fact, if you were curious about a little bit more about this one, I'll put a link somewhere up here in the corner of my most recent review of it, so you can check that out if you want. Now, let's get this bad boy open. Let's get a pop. Nah, either way. For me, so to whiskey, because really, you can never drink too much of it. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. All right, so let's kick this off with the three main bottles that caught my eye on this wander at this Costco. The first of which was the most exciting for me, which is this Lagavulin 11 Charred Oak Cask. Ooh, that was broke through. So you can see I already got a bottle here. I already got it open, but it was nice to find, especially at a very reasonable price at the Costco. Now, this is the third of the yearly releases of the whiskeys that is designed and collaborated with Nick Offerman of Parks and Rec fame and with Lagavulin of Lagavulin fame. Last year, the second edition of whiskey, it got a lot of great reviews as it was barreled in Guinness casks, but this year it features 11-year-old Lagavulin whiskey that is in extra toasty and extra smoky barrels as a result of being in charred oak barrels. Also, I can attest, it's pretty good. I'm trying it already. And again, if you want to see a review on it, I actually did one of those a little while back, and you can take a look. I'll put a link up somewhere as well. So check out the review for that. Now, needless to say, after trying it, I bought at least one more just to have as a backup because I know it's a yearly release, and once it's gone, it's kind of gone. Now we can see here that this Offerman Lagavulin 11, item number 96237 at Costco is on sale at $79.99, which is pretty much the lowest that you can find it for pretty much anywhere. And you can see that they do have a decent amount in stock for the time being, but it is popular. And the Costco person, they told me that originally they had 58 in stock in the morning. So it's definitely getting depleted. And the hoarders, including myself, are starting to circle a little bit. But you can still find it for sale at Bevmo, who has it at $99.99, which is a bit on the high side. And then at $95.99 on the lower range at Total Wine. This also means that by buying it at Costco, I was able to save about $16.67 off the total wine price, or 16.67%. So still pretty good. Now the ABV on this Lagavulin 11 is at 46%, which I think is probably the right amount of heat for this whiskey. So it doesn't get kind of in the way of the charred and like peaty goodness that it might if you have too high of an ABV on it. And really, I mean, honestly, that's what everyone's coming to the show for, right? The tasting notes that I have for it mention things like a good dose of smoke, as you would expect, medium char, a floral mid-range flavor, a dry leaves and medicinal on the end, and a long lingering, gentle finish. Just absolutely delicious. The review scores on it are actually pretty generous, especially considering that Lagavulin fans can be real fickle, right? If you get too far away from that Lagavulin core flavor, some folks kind of start to get a little iffy about it. But this one definitely sticks the landing. So overall, I saw the average review scores for it come out to 87 points, which I think is fair, but me being a Lagavulin lover, I think I'd add a couple more points to it. Maybe put it up to like 91 or 92 points, but again, that's just me and my love of Lagavulin. So for this one, for the Lagavulin 11, for me, it is a buy now, a buy tomorrow, and you know what, I'll even buy some more later on if I can still find it later at some point in the future. Now, the next whiskey on here, I have actually not tried, but it always stares at me when I see it at Costco. I mean, I have really been meaning to drink through the entire Jefferson line, but I know they do some amazing things with the Ocean line, where they put the whiskey on a boat, so it gets kind of its own unique boaty flavor. But I just haven't been able to bring myself to do it as of yet. Jefferson is yet another of those relatively new whiskey makers, which I am super thankful for, because there's a definite need for a diversity and innovation within the whiskey space, and I think that Jefferson is sort of working that way. This one specifically is the Jefferson Reserve, very old. It's a blend of 8 to 12 barrels in a batch composed of 3 unique mash bills, which are, of course, proprietary. But at least from what I could find, they all have rye in them as the grain. Also, from what I could find on the interweb, this whiskey has whiskey that's in it that is aged as much as 20 years old, which is ancient for bourbon. I mean, less so nowadays, but, you know, it's still pretty old. But given the price on it that we're going to see here in a sec, it's probably not much more of that 20-year-old whiskey than a hummingbird's thimble's worth. Now, speaking of price, we can see that the cost here at Costco is at $39.99, which is very reasonable for at least what it's presenting itself to be as very old. The Costco item number on it is at 776298, just in case anybody is playing Costco bingo at home. And if you're looking at both Total Wine and Bevmo, you shouldn't have any issues picking it up because it is readily available. The high and the mid-range prices on it are at $49.99 on the high side from Bevmo and $46.99 on the mid-range for Total Wine. So if you do pick some up at Costco, then you'll end up saving about $7 off the Total Wine price, or 14.9%, which is a pretty good percentage of saving. Now, the ABV on this Jefferson Reserve is sort of a strange number at 45.1% ABV, so maybe that 20-year-old whiskey it does make a little bit of a difference. And the tasting notes mentioned that this is a whiskey that is right on the dot, right on the center line of whiskey, which I guess is neither really good or bad, but maybe sort of damning with faint praise, but still, it's definitely drinkable. As far as the tasting goes, there are also aspects of baking spice, vanilla, brown sugar, and a bit of cinnamon cookie in the taste. So it sounds actually pretty good, especially as a whiskey that you can share with friends who are maybe not bourbon people, and it's something that they can enjoy, and you don't have to feel guilty about giving them, Johnny Walker Black. I like Johnny Walker Black, just saying. Now, the overall score that I found for it is sort of all over the place. So some people seem to really like it, and others sort of really poo-pooed it. But the average scores that I could find on it came out to be around 78 points out of 100. So for me, this is another one of those whiskeys that I've been wanting to try more of, out of curiosity. But I just can't bring myself to pull the trigger on it yet because I haven't tried any of the Jefferson line. So if you all have tried Jefferson and you like it, let me know. Put it down in the comments because I'm really interested to see if it's really worth it at any of the levels. I'm willing to try any of them that I can find, but I just need a little bit of a push. So for me, this one was a buy at some point in the future, just not right now. Now, last but not least is another of these new age whiskeys that actually has a very strong pedigree from the Beam family. Which is this Yellowstone bourbon out of the Limestone Branch Distillery in Kentucky. Now, I had a chance to do a review on this Yellowstone limited edition, the yearly release for 2022. Check it out, by the way. I'll put it up somewhere else. And you know what? I really, really enjoyed it. So now it's kind of like when you buy a red car and now all of a sudden everybody else is driving red cars. It's the same thing starting to see Yellowstone all over the place. I would say that I am really interested to try some of their more, call them like everyday bourbons that are a bit softer on the pocketbook than the limited edition. But now that I've had the limited edition, I'm definitely piqued and interested to try these ones out. This Yellowstone is at a very reasonable price at $34.99 here at Costco. It's item number 20147. And it is, again, readily available at Total Wine or Bevmo, which both have them at the same price of $36.99. So I think I'm suspicious that they've been copying off each other's notes. Also, that means that if I did pick up this one at Costco, I would save $2 off the lowest cost, which is both Total Wine and Bevmo. So, you know, just enough money that you save to get a Costco hot dog. Now, the ABV on the Yellowstone bourbon is at 46.5%. And although it doesn't have an age statement, it does say that there is whiskey as old as 6 years in it. You know, take that with a grain of salt. The tasting notes on it mention things like toffee, smoked caramel, roasted hazelnuts, and peanut brittle, which does seem to me sound a lot like a Beam Family Legacy recipe in there, as well as orange zest and sourdough bread. So it sounds like it has some complexity to it. You know, a lot more than what you would anticipate for a whiskey that's kind of on the higher end of the starting line. Now, the overall scores that I could find on the Yellowstone are sort of what you expect, again, for that higher entry level whiskey. It got 76.62 points out of 100. So I mean, for me, you know, this is another one I want to get. I want to try, along with some of the other new age whiskeys like the Wilderness Trail, the Redwood Empire. I'd also try this one to compare it to the limited edition that we have. And see, you know, what is the big difference? You know, is it really that big of a difference? And if so, you know, where are those differences at? So, you know, that comparison is part of the joy of bourbon whiskey trying altogether. But at this time, it was a pass for me because, I mean, honestly, straight up, I was just really hyper focused on getting a bottle of that Lagavulin 11, you know, before it goes away. So for me, for this one, the Yellowstone was a pass, but I will pick it up here at some point in the near future. All right, so we'll finish up here with the full uncut wander right after this. And before we go, though, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, if you like the reviews, and really all the other great stuff we got cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get notified when our newest videos come out every Sunday and sometimes in between. Lastly, last but not least, if you do see a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will, and it might even be me. All right, I'm out. Adios. Here goes the wander.